It was supposed to be a normal morning. One of those calm ones where the sunlight isn't too bright, the breeze isn't too cold, and the city sounds like it's just waking up rather than screaming in your face. I was downtown, standing in line at Cafe Slate, ordering my usual black coffee, no sugar. The barista, a girl named Mel, gave me a tired smile as she handed it over. "Rough morning?" I asked. She shrugged. "Something weird on the news. Static cut in mid-broadcast. Whole thing glitched out." I didn't think much of it. The city was always buzzing with noise, both literal and digital. Static was nothing new. I stepped outside, took a long sip, and leaned against a lamppost. That's when my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I pulled it out without thinking. The caller ID made me freeze. Parker, Dave. Parker never called me unless things were bad. And even then, he texted. Voice calls meant one thing. Something had gone wrong. Horribly wrong. I answered. "Parker." His voice came low and fast, like he was trying not to breathe. "Where are you?" "Downtown. Just got my coffee." "Why?" "Leave. Now, don't ask questions. Just get the hell out of there." I laughed, nervously. "Dude, you're scaring the crap out of me. What's going on?" "There's been a breach. Biohazard level 5. The lab, Sector 12, is compromised. They got out. We don't know how far it's spread yet." "Wait, got out?" "I'm already saying too much. Whatever you do not go near the metro, do not approach anyone acting strange, and stay away from anyone bleeding from the nose or eyes." "They're not." The call cut out. Not dropped. Not ended. Just static. Sharp and piercing, like a scream jammed through a speaker. I pulled the phone away, heart pounding. Looked around. People were still sipping coffee. A homeless man shuffled past, humming to himself. A bus honked. A dog barked. Everything looked normal, until I noticed the man on the corner. White coat, blood down the front. He was staggering, not limping, twitching, like his joints didn't know how to work anymore. His eyes were sunken, milky. His skin was gray-green, with lesions cracking across his cheek. He turned his head slowly, twitchily, and looked right at me. And then he ran, straight toward me. He wasn't just running. He was charging. His legs kicked out like broken machinery, arms jerking unnaturally at his sides. But damn if he wasn't fast. My brain didn't even finish processing Parker's warning before my body acted on instinct. I turned and ran, coffee cup flying from my hand, shattering on the pavement behind me. People around me didn't react. Yet, most hadn't even noticed. A few glanced up, confused, maybe thinking it was some drugged-out freak causing a scene. I glanced over my shoulder. He was still coming. That lab coat was soaked with blood now that I could see it clearly, chest down to his knees. His mouth hung open in a sick grin, teeth red. Not stained, fresh. His eyes rolled as he sprinted, focused on me like a wolf that already tasted blood. I cut down an alley between a bookstore and a bakery, heart jackhammering in my chest. Halfway through, I slipped on a trash bag and crashed hard onto the concrete. My hand hit something sharp, glass. My palm split open. I hissed, scrambling up. The moment I stood, I saw him at the end of the alley. He didn't slow down. That face, it didn't look human anymore. Veins bulged beneath the skin like black worms. His mouth opened wider than it should have. His jaw dislocated, bone cracking audibly. And then, BLAM, his head jerked back and he dropped. I stumbled against the wall, hand clutching my side, staring at the body. Smoke curled from a pistol held by a woman at the far end of the alley. Military gear, vest, gas mask. She didn't speak. She pointed at me, then jerked her thumb back the way she came. "Who are you?" I croaked. She finally spoke, voice muffled through the mask. "Containment failed. You've been exposed. Come with me if you want to live." "Exposed?" I didn't. He didn't touch me. "Doesn't matter. You're downtown. Everything in a 6-block radius is red zone." She pointed again, gun aimed skyward now. "More are coming. Move." A siren suddenly pierced the air, one I'd only ever heard in doomsday drills. Then the emergency alert tone buzzed from every phone, car radio, and public screen around us. My phone lit up in my jacket. Emergency alert: CDC biohazard escape. Do not approach infected individuals. Avoid all contact with bleeding, twitching, or unresponsive persons. Zombie-like aggression confirmed. Evacuation zone in effect. Martial law pending. Shelter in place or evacuate now. A scream echoed down the street behind me. Then another. Then gunfire. The soldier grabbed my arm. You're with me now. We don't have long. I couldn't stop staring at my hand. The cut was deeper than I thought, but that's not what scared me. What scared me was the way it pulsed. Not like a heartbeat, more like a twitch, a ripple beneath the skin. I gripped the table edge and stood, pacing the room. Every few seconds, I'd glance up at the mirror, the two-way glass where I knew someone was watching. I pressed my palm against it. You gonna tell me what's happening to me? I said, my voice cracking. No answer. Then a speaker clicked on. This is Dr. Elias Grayson, the voice said. It was the bearded guy in the lab coat, the one who looked at me like I was a loaded weapon. Eli, I need you to listen carefully. I didn't move. You were exposed. Your proximity to the infected subject puts you inside what we call the mutation window. The pathogen spreads through direct fluid contact. But, in rare cases, prolonged proximity during mutation stages can allow aerosolized transfer. That twitching you're feeling, that's the early nerve misfiring. The beginning of something else. I clenched my fists. You mean I'm turning into one of those things? No, not yet, he replied, and for a moment his voice softened. That's what we're trying to determine. You were exposed, but you're not breaking down like the others. That makes you interesting, maybe even useful. Useful? I snapped. You're watching me die through a window. There was a pause. Then he said, we've only seen one other case like yours. And he didn't die, Eli. He changed. I took a step back. What the hell are you talking about? But the speaker went dead. 10 minutes passed. I sat back down, breathing through my nose, trying to stay calm, trying not to scratch at the growing itch under my skin. Then the power in the room flickered. Once, twice, boom. A muffled explosion shook the walls. The mirror cracked at the top right corner. Screaming erupted outside the door. Gunshots. Something smashed into the hallway wall with a splat. I jumped up, heart racing. Then the door to my quarantine room unlocked with a sharp click. It opened slowly, and Parker was standing there, sweating, breathing hard, holding a pistol in one hand and a keycard in the other. His jacket was smeared with blood. Come on, he whispered. We don't have much time. Parker. What the hell is happening? He didn't answer, just held the door open wider. And behind him, down the flickering hallway, I saw a body move, jerk, twitch, not dead, not human anymore. Parker, is that? Move, he yelled, yanking me by the collar. We sprinted into the hallway, our boots echoing off the blood-slicked tiles. A woman's scream sliced through the air from somewhere down the corridor, then stopped with a wet, choking sound. The overhead lights buzzed and flickered like they were ready to die. I caught glimpses as we passed through the chaos. A soldier torn in half, legs twitching. A man in a hazmat suit bashing his head against the wall until it cracked open. A door labeled live samples bent outward, like something broke through from the inside. Parker shoved me through a stairwell door and slammed it shut behind us. We were wrong, he muttered. They weren't fully dead, just waiting. What are you talking about? They didn't mutate by accident. This wasn't just a breach, it was a test run. You think you were exposed randomly? Eli, they watched you. You're resistant. You're what they've been looking for. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it might explode. I backed up a step. You're not making sense. I am, and you need to listen. Patient 0 broke containment 3 hours ago. But there were others. Not infected. Not like the Twitchers. Controlled. Intelligent. Walking among the staff like ghosts. He opened a duffel bag and handed me a pistol. My hands trembled. You want to survive, you shoot anything with glazed eyes and black veins. Center mass slows them, but headshots end it. If they swarm, don't run. Climb. They're fast, but dumb. I nodded slowly. Where are we going? To the garage. I've got a truck stashed, EMP shielded. But we've got to go through sublevel 3. I hesitated. I'd heard of sublevel 3 on the news once. Briefly mentioned during a congressional hearing about illegal experiments in urban zones. It was one of those places that didn't officially exist. I gritted my teeth. What's down there? Parker looked at me grimly. We descended. The lights grew dimmer, the air heavier. Fluorescent signs buzzed overhead, flickering between safe zone and lockdown. When we reached sublevel 3, the air changed. The walls weren't sterile here. They were old, rusted, with streaks of dried blood. Broken cameras dangled from the ceilings. We passed cages, human-sized, bent open. Then we saw the door at the end of the hall. On it, scrawled in red paint, "No blood," was one phrase. We tried to kill it. It learned. Parker stopped. His voice was barely a whisper. This is where they kept the first one. Still alive. Or, it was. The lights cut out completely. Then, in the pitch black, we heard breathing. Wet, hungry, close. The breathing stopped. For a moment, all I could hear was Parker's heartbeat. Or maybe it was mine. In the dark, my eyes played tricks on me. Shadows swirled where there were no shapes, and I swear I saw a figure crouched in the farthest corner, just watching. Parker slowly raised his flashlight, hand shaking, and clicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness. Nothing. The hallway was empty, but the door, the one with blood writing, it was open, just a sliver. Did you open that? I whispered. No, Parker didn't move. I locked that myself before the breach. Something moved beyond the door. Just a shift in the air. A slithering drag. The light barely reached the inside. I stepped closer, gun up. What is this place? He swallowed hard. Before Patient Zero, before the outbreak, there was Subject 0A. First immune. First to survive the bite without dying. First to change. Change how? She didn't rot. She evolved. Stronger, faster, smarter. But her mind, whatever was left of it, wasn't human anymore. She played dumb for months. Let us poke her. Run tests. Then one day she just stared at the camera. For hours. Never blinked. He turned the light toward me, eyes wide. She started smiling. I aimed my pistol at the cracked door. Then the door swung open. Slow and silent, like it had been waiting for us. Beyond it was a chamber. White tile floor stained black. Chains hung from the ceiling. One snapped, the others dangling, blood-crusted. A table with medical straps bent upward, like someone tore straight through it. Then I saw the walls, covered in symbols, drawings made in blood. Circles, spirals, rows of tally marks, and eyes. Dozens of eyes, drawn in pairs, watching. In the center of the room was a chair, and sitting in it was a woman, pale skin, wearing a torn hospital gown, hair greasy and matted over her face, hands resting calmly on her lap. She was still, not breathing, until she looked up. No sound, no twitch, just a slow lift of her head. Her eyes glowed faint yellow, inhuman. Her lips curled into a slight smile, and then she spoke. Eli Voss, you're late. I froze. Parker aimed his weapon. Back away. Now. But she didn't flinch. She just looked at me like she'd seen me 1,000 times before. I dreamed of you, she whispered. They put your blood in me. Did you know that? You're not the first immune, but you'll be the last. Parker fired. Click, click. His gun jammed. She stood. Her bones cracked as she moved, joints snapping into unnatural angles. Then her arms elongated, tendons shifting beneath the skin like worms, her mouth opening wider than a human jaw ever could. Parker yelled, backing up. Go! Move, Eli! I didn't move. She wasn't looking at him. She was only looking at me. And I suddenly knew. She didn't want to kill me. She wanted me to change. Her eyes, if you could still call them that, were locked on me like she knew something I didn't. And maybe she did. But what twisted me inside was the fact that I wasn't bitten. Not scratched. Not touched. So why was she talking like I belonged to all this? She took a step forward, bare feet slapping the cold tile. Each movement snapped and shifted like her bones were fighting her skin to break free. Parker aimed his rifle again. One more step and I'll put you down. Still, she didn't even glance at him. I smelled you before the breach, she whispered to me. Her voice was wrong. Like two voices stacked on top of each other, one human, one not. You were in the lab years ago. The blood they injected me with. It was yours. My throat tightened. That's not possible. I've never. You were 6. Unconscious. Taken from a hospital burn ward. She smiled. You don't remember, but they kept your cells in the black archive. They grew me using your immunity, but it didn't heal me, Eli. It made me aware. Parker suddenly grabbed my shoulder and yanked me back. That's enough. We're leaving. Now. She tilted her head at him. You keep him alive like a pet, she hissed. But they won't let him live. The higher-ups know what he is. They'll burn the city to bury it. A klaxon suddenly screamed overhead. Level 3 purge initiated. The red emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in a bloody glow. She didn't flinch. They're going to sterilize this level, Parker muttered. We've got 3 minutes. I stumbled back out into the hall, but I couldn't stop looking at her. Just standing there, letting the alarms scream around her like they were nothing. Before Parker slammed the door, she said one last thing. You didn't need to be bitten, Eli. You were born with it. Boom. Parker slammed the bulkhead as the chamber locked behind us. He shoved me hard, adrenaline in his eyes. We're not safe. They're going to incinerate this whole floor. Come on. We bolted up the stairs. My heart felt like it was going to explode, but not from running, from everything she said. No bite, no scratch, just me. We reached the surface level. The air smelled like burning plastic and ash. Through the shattered glass doors of the building, I could see military trucks pulling up, flamethrowers lit, soldiers in containment suits moving in formation. Get in the truck, Parker shouted. I've got clearance, but I didn't move. I looked down at my hands. The cut was gone, completely healed, and something under my skin moved again. Not pain, activation. We ran through smoke and fire. Behind us, the lower levels of the lab roared with flame. The blast doors shook under the pressure, each muffled boom echoing through the ground like distant thunder. Parker and I tore through the shattered lobby toward the armored truck, ash falling like snow. A soldier turned toward us, leveling his rifle. Halt! Identify! Parker didn't slow down. Agent Parker, DHS Biohazard Division. The subject is with me. The soldier hesitated, looked to someone off radio, then waved us forward. Move! Zone collapse in 2 minutes. We slammed into the truck. Parker behind the wheel, me in the passenger seat, hands still trembling. I couldn't stop staring at them. No blood, no wound, nothing. It had healed completely, not even a scar. I turned to him. Tell me the truth. Now, what the hell am I? He didn't answer at first. He gripped the wheel tighter, lips pressed in a hard line. They didn't tell you, he finally said. You weren't just in the wrong place. You were born immune. Your blood was the foundation of the immunity project. They thought they could use your genetics to create a cure. Instead, they created her. You mean that thing in the cell? He nodded grimly. Subject 0A. She was the first hybrid, part virus, part human. She was designed using your blood to retain higher cognitive functions. But the virus evolved faster than we could control it. She didn't just survive. She adapted. I leaned back in the seat, mind racing. Why didn't you tell me? They would have killed you if they knew you survived childhood. I buried your file when you were 12. That's why I called you today. Because once the outbreak started, I knew they'd come looking. The truck hit a bump, tossing us for a second. I was supposed to report you as compromised, Parker said quietly. I didn't. We reached the edge of the quarantine zone. Everything ahead of us was chaos. Burning vehicles, barricades, civilians screaming, soldiers trying to force people onto transport trucks. The smell of burning flesh and fuel clung to everything. The second we pulled through, a guard slammed the side of the truck. Sector 0 is lost. Fall back to safe zone Echo. Parker drove us past the line, away from the growing hell behind us. I looked out the side window and saw something that made my stomach drop. Through the smoke and fire, she was walking. Not running, not hiding, just walking through the flames like they meant nothing. Soldiers fired at her. Nothing stopped her. And then her eyes flicked toward the truck. Toward me. She smiled again. Then something caught my eye in the reflection on the window. My face. My eyes. For a split second, they glowed faint yellow. I blinked hard. My reflection was just normal, human. My eyes were brown. No glow. No shimmer. But for that 1 second, I swear, they weren't mine. Parker didn't notice. He was focused on the road, swerving past burning wreckage and abandoned barricades. Smoke still followed us. Sirens screamed behind us, followed by the dull whomp of aerial drones firebombing what used to be a downtown research district. How far do we need to go? I asked, my voice barely holding together. Parker looked over, jaw clenched. As far as we can before command locks down the airspace. Once martial law is declared, they'll wipe everything, including us. I leaned back, hand over my face. Everything burned. My lungs felt like they were filled with ash. But I could feel something else now too, low and steady under my skin. A pulse, a warmth, something foreign, like something inside me had woken up. And it wasn't going back to sleep. We pulled into an abandoned gas station 30 miles out of the city, deep into the woods. It was surrounded by silence. No sirens, no screaming, just cicadas and wind. Parker parked under a rusted canopy and shut the engine off. You're changing, he said flatly. I didn't respond. You felt it, right? He asked, turning to face me. The heat, the awareness, like you're thinking with two brains. I nodded slowly. I didn't get bit, Parker. You didn't have to, he said. Your body isn't fighting the virus. It's adapting to it. Your immunity doesn't reject the strain. It understands it. He pulled a metal case from the back seat, popped it open, and handed me a blood scanner. Give me your finger. I hesitated. I'm not going to kill you, Eli, but I need to know how far it's gone. I placed my finger in. Pricked. A small sample drew up. The scanner blinked. Processing. Result. Strain. ZBX variant 0A. Host status. Asymptomatic hybrid. Viral load. Stable, non-infectious. Mutation status. Active. I looked at him. What the hell does that mean? Parker sat down slowly, face pale. It means you're the first successful carrier. Not dead. Not infected. Just new. Something cracked in the woods behind the station. Both of us turned. Silence. Then again snap. Parker stood, pistol up. Not good. I followed, drawing the one he gave me back at the lab. We stepped outside, scanning the tree line. Mist was rising from the soil, thick and low. Then we heard it. Not a growl. Not footsteps. Laughter. Soft. Feminine. Familiar. Then a whisper. From the shadows. You feel it now, don't you, Eli? She stepped from the tree line like she belonged there. The hybrid. Subject 0A. Her hospital gown was soaked in ash and blood. Her arms twitching with subtle spasms. You and I, we're not so different, she said. They tried to bury the truth. But your body remembers. I raised my gun. She didn't flinch. You can't kill me, Eli. You'll understand soon enough. The virus doesn't kill anymore. Not when it finds the right host. Her smile widened. It evolves. Parker fired. She vanished. Not ducked. Not ran. Just gone like a blink in reality. The trees fell silent again. I stood there, weapon shaking in my hand, breath catching in my throat. And then I felt it again. That warmth inside me. Spreading. That warmth inside me wasn't just spreading. It was awakening something deeper. I leaned against the side of the truck, trying to steady my breathing, but every inhale felt sharp, like my lungs were adjusting to something else in the air. Not choking, absorbing. Parker was scanning the woods, sweat running down his neck. "She's faster than before," he muttered. "That vanishing trick? She never had that in the lab. This strain is learning from us, mimicking movement, adapting instincts." He turned to me, eyes hard. "You feel it too, don't you?" I nodded. I didn't want to admit it, but I felt alive. Like every cell in my body was humming. My senses were sharper. The faint buzz of insects behind the gas station. The subtle shift of Parker's weight on the gravel. The chemical tang of fuel still clinging to the truck tires. My skin itched. No, not itched, buzzed. Something beneath it was trying to surface. Parker noticed. "We need to suppress it before it takes over." "I'm not infected," I snapped. "You're mutating," he corrected. "Big difference." He went to the back of the truck, opened a case marked ZBX-0A, and pulled out a syringe filled with something that shimmered silver blue in the light. "What is that?" I asked. "Suppression serum. It slows viral activation, keeps your brain in control." He held it up. "If you don't take it, the next hour could break you in half." My breathing was heavier now. My vision pulsed at the edges. I stared at the syringe, then at my hands. Veins now ran faintly black across my wrist. Barely visible, but they hadn't been there earlier. Parker stepped closer. "I can't force you, but if you go full hybrid without control, you'll become what she is." I looked him in the eyes. "And if I am what she is, then what?" "Then you're either the weapon that ends this, or the reason the world burns." I held out my arm. "Do it." He injected the serum into my forearm. It burned like acid. My back arched. My jaw clenched so tight I thought it would snap. I saw something. For just a second. Flashes. The lab. Me strapped to a gurney as a child. Tubes in my arms. Men in suits watching behind glass. And her, the hybrid, sitting in the opposite room watching me. When I came back, I was on the ground. Parker above me. I had clawed 3 deep gashes into the concrete with my bare hands. "You okay?" he asked, panting. "You almost." I stood up. Slowly. Carefully. "I saw her," I said. "Not just now. Years ago. Before any of this started. We weren't strangers. They showed me to her. Like I was a mirror." Parker looked stunned. "Jesus. They didn't just use your blood. They tested your connection to her." I looked up toward the woods, where the hybrid had vanished. "I'm not a cure," I whispered. "No," he agreed. "You're something worse." In the distance, the sound of helicopters. Bright lights through the trees. A new voice over a loudspeaker. "This is command. Surrender the hybrid host. This is your final warning." Parker grabbed his rifle. "They're here for you." And in that moment, deep in my gut, I wasn't scared anymore. I wanted them to come. Because whatever I was now, I was done running. The choppers descended like vultures. Spotlights split through the trees, locking on me. Soldiers poured out of black trucks, body armor, rifles, flamethrowers. They weren't shouting commands. They were already aiming. Parker stepped in front of me, gun raised. "He's not a threat." The loudspeaker boomed back. "That is not up to you anymore. Step aside or be neutralized." I saw it in Parker's eyes. He wasn't ready to die, but he was ready to fight. For me. For the truth. But I was done hiding behind anyone. I stepped forward. My skin burned where the serum had sunk in. Veins darkened. Muscles tightened. And behind my eyes, I felt her. The hybrid. Subject 0A. Watching. Waiting. But I wasn't hers. And I wasn't theirs. I raised my hands. "I didn't ask for this," I shouted. "You made me in a lab and now you want to burn me like trash? Fine. But know this, if I die, your outbreak doesn't end. You unleashed this. You fed it. And now it's not mine anymore. It's yours." They fired. I don't remember falling. I remember the bullets tearing through my chest. Heat. not pain. I remember Parker screaming my name. I remember the sky, so blue it almost looked fake. Then everything went black. They declared the outbreak contained. They blamed terrorists. The city was sterilized, nothing left but ash and silence. But 2 weeks later, across the globe, it began again. Not from the infected, from the immune. Those who never got sick. Those whose cuts healed too quickly. Those who had dreams of a woman with yellow eyes. They weren't bitten. They were called. And in the middle of it all, in the shadows of a new outbreak, she waits, smiling. And somewhere, deep underground, the last footage ever recorded in Sublevel 3 plays on a cracked monitor. A voice says, "You thought you could cure what you evolved. But this wasn't a virus. This was rebirth."